Let's jump into today's show with your local news. Boys basketball lost an absolute heartbreaker at the buzzer, 46 to 44 in overtime in Monroe. They look to bounce back tomorrow against Warwick, and that game will be presented by Goldback Television. For the girls, they defeated Minisink 58 to 46 at NFA. They look to add a third straight win against Warwick on Thursday night. Varsity wrestling competed in the Eastern States tournament this past weekend in Albany. Newburgh took fourth as a team with only 5 wrestlers in the tournament. The standout performances were from William Soto, who won his entire weight class by pin. Cooper Murley made the finals, as well as Chris Leggett, upsetting the number 2 wrestler in the state to make the finals. Newburgh won their duel on Tuesday night, qualifying for the second night of the dual championship. Jordan Busby also won his 100th match at the said duel by pin. The state of Newburgh wrestling, the team has potential to have a historic season, says Coach Nick Canetta. We'll see how things end up and who makes it to Albany. As for your soccer news, here's Chris with the latest updates around the pitch.
For 3 weeks of news around the pitch, let's get into the FA Cup. Sunday, Arsenal played Manchester United, a nerve-wracking match. In the 52nd minute, Arsenal is in possession, but not too long, Garnacho steals the ball away and makes a run forwards towards the goal, and finds Bruno Fernandes open on the other side and makes the pass. Fernandes curls the ball beautifully into the back of the net, scoring the opening goal for Manchester United. Not too long after, Manchester's Diogo Dalot receives a second yellow after a tackle on Mourinho, as he slightly mistimes his tackle and catches the ankle of the opponent, and Dalot gets sent off, leaving United with 10 men. Only 2 minutes after, United's keeper punches the ball in the air in the middle of a crowded area, and Arsenal's Gabriel Magalhaes manages to get the ball and takes the shot and ties the match for Arsenal. In the 72nd minute, Arsenal was awarded a penalty by a foul on Havertz, and Martin Odegaard steps up to take it. He shoots, and United's keeper dives to save way, denying Odegaard's penalty. The match went into extra time, and neither of the team could find the back of the net during extra time, so the match went into a penalty shootout. Fernandes starts the shootout for United by scoring his penalty. Odegaard starts the shootout for Arsenal by also scoring his penalty. Diallo steps up to take his penalty, and he scores it. Kai Havertz steps up to take his penalty, but United's goalie blocks Havertz's penalty, giving United the lead. In the end, Manchester United wins by penalty shootout. Now let's move on to the Spanish Supercopa. Barcelona versus Real Madrid for the Supercopa final. In the early first half, Vini wins the ball from Casado and makes the counterattack. Vini passes to Mbappe, and with a couple of step-overs, he passes by Balde and shoots into the bottom corner, scoring the opening goal for Madrid. In the 22nd minute, Koundé makes a pass to Lewandowski, who's in midfield, and Lewandowski makes a long pass to Lamine Yamal, who breaks through Madrid's defensive line, and Yamal makes a run inside Madrid's penalty box, and he shoots in the corner, scoring for Barca, and makes the tie. In the 34th minute, after a VAR review, Barcelona was awarded a penalty after a foul on Gavi from Madrid's Camavinga. Lewandowski steps up to take the penalty, and no doubt about it, he smashed his penalty into the corner past Courtois, giving Barca the lead. In the 39th minute, from almost halfway line, Koundé spots the run of Rafinha, and he plays a pinpoint cross to Rafinha, and he hits the ball with a powerful header, passes right past Madrid's keeper, making the score 3-1. In stoppage time of first half, Madrid makes a mistake on their corner kick and gives the ball away to Lamine Yamal, who takes the ball, passes to Rafinha, who makes a run. Then Rafinha passes to Balde, who's right beside Rafinha, and Balde takes the shot, passes the ball, and the ball passes right past the keeper. Barca then would score a fifth, winning the match, score being 5-2.
Thanks, Chris. Now skating on to your Tri-State hockey update. Can't believe I'm saying this, but the New York Rangers actually look like a team again. For the first time since November 19th, the Blue Shirts won back-to-back games. After beating the Devils 3-2 in overtime, the Rangers defeated the Golden Knights 2-1 in Vegas. It didn't last long, however, after an overtime loss 3-2 to the Colorado Avalanche in Denver. New York looks to pick up the scraps against the Utah Hockey Club tomorrow night. For the Islanders, they've also started winning again. After a last-minute winner by Matt Barzal, the Isles extended their winning streak to 3 with a 2-1 win against the Utah Hockey Club. They look to build off this momentum against the Senators tomorrow in UBS. Down in Jersey, things are slowing down, just a bit. The Devils have been looking incredibly streaky. Things changed, however, against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jersey's boys got back on track thanks to an overtime winner by Stefan Nason. After winning 3-2 against Tampa Bay, New Jersey then fell to the Panthers 2-1 in a shootout. They look to bounce back against the Leafs tomorrow night in Toronto. You know it's something special when the New York Knicks are being hyped as a championship contender. Here's the issue. On a good day, they look like the best team in the East. However, on the contrary, they can also look like a JV squad. On Sunday, they looked like that contender with a 36-point win against the Bucks. But Monday, absolute trash. The Knicks were defeated 124-119 against the Detroit Pistons at the Garden on Monday. Last night, however, they picked it up, winning 125-119 in overtime against the Sixers. Enough talk about that. Let's move on to the playoff wrap-up. With the wild card round in full swing, 6 teams saw their hopes of playing in February crash before their very eyes. On the opposite side, some teams established themselves as legitimate contenders. Who will continue on their quest to play for the Lombardi in the house they call the Rising Sun? Kicking things off in Houston, where we saw a stalemate on both sides. Clinging to a 6-0 lead, the Chargers' defense was playing perfect football, forcing C.J. Stroud to throw a pick and forcing a fumble on John Mechie. Unfortunately for LA, the Texans offense woke up and went to work. Stroud led the Texans down for a touchdown and a field goal to take a 10-6 lead at halftime. It was all Houston from there as the Texans forced Justin Herbert to throw 3 interceptions. The Texans went on to win this one 32-12, setting up a date for them in Kansas City. Heading up north to Baltimore, we were set for another clash of the biggest rivalry in football as the Ravens hosted their arch nemesis, the Pittsburgh Steelers. What was very well known about this rivalry is no matter who's good and who's bad, it's always going to be close, tight, and a gritty football game. This time, that's funny. This time it was anything but, as the Ravens ran the ball down the Steelers' throat the entire night. 186 yards from King Henry. Over 250 total rushing yards. Baltimore dominated Big Brother of the West, winning by a score of 28-14. They will take on the Buffalo Bills if Buffalo beats Denver. If Denver wins, Houston heads to Baltimore. Speaking of Denver, their game is next. The 7-seeded Broncos had to attempt the impossible, winning in Buffalo against the 2-seeded juggernaut Bills. At first, everything went Denver's way. And on their first drive, rookie phenom QB Bo Nix hit Troy Franklin a 43-yard touchdown strike, shocking the football world and putting Denver up 7-0. Josh Allen and the Bills took this as a challenge. Denver would not score the remainder of the game, and Allen went to work. After a 20 for 26 day with 272 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, the Bills made quick work of the Broncos, winning 31-7. With this win, the stage is set. Lamar versus Allen. Bills versus Ravens on Sunday Night Football. As we move on to the NFC side of the bracket, a grudge match took place in South Philadelphia. The number 7-seeded Green Bay Packers headed over to the Link to take on the 2-seeded Eagles. This was a rematch from the opening contest in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Things couldn't have started any better for the Birds as Green Bay fumbled the opening kickoff and the Eagles scored off the turnover. It was all Eagles from there, as the Birds' defense forced Jordan Love to throw not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions. Even though Green Bay had more total yards, it just wasn't enough. Eagles win 22-10. For those that wanted an instant classic, all you had to do was wait. On Sunday Night Football, the 6-seeded Washington Commanders headed down south. Their task, beating the number 3-seeded NFC South champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game was a back-and-forth battle, but it would be coaching and competence that would be the difference maker. With the game tied at 20 apiece, disaster struck. Todd Bowles' unit was left on defense. Jay Daniels picked the Bucs apart and drove them into field goal range, as Zane Gonzalez was set to kick the game winner, but it bounced off the right upright and in. For the first time since 2005, the Washington Commanders have won a football game in the playoffs. However, they have the toughest task in the NFC, winning Detroit. And for our final game of the weekend, we head down to State Farm Stadium in Arizona. What? So the wildfires that are going on in the greater LA area were so severe that the game from SoFi in Inglewood had to be moved to State Farm Stadium in Glendale. Regardless, football had to be played. Unfortunately for the Vikings, it was not their day. The Rams defense forced 9 sacks on Sam Darnold after jumping out to a 24-3 lead at halftime. The Rams went on to win 27-9, thrashing the 14-win Vikings. A much tougher task awaits LA as they head to Philly to play the Eagles.
With all eight teams decided to go to the divisional round, let's talk about it. The divisional rounds are looking interesting. First, we got the Texans versus the Chiefs. This game is going to be pretty interesting considering the Texans lost the first time, and now it's the playoffs with much more on the line. Then we got the Commanders versus the Lions. This game is going to be amazing considering we get to see David Montgomery back in uniform and a few more come back from injury. The Commanders beat the Bucs last week with a lucky boinked field goal. Now another game I'm looking forward to, Rams versus the Eagles. This could be the best game of the playoffs so far considering the Eagles beat the Rams for the first time, 30-20. Now another amazing game who has the chance to be the best playoff game of the week, the Ravens versus the Bills. This game right here is technically the battle for MVP if you're asking me. I have the Bills winning it, but to be honest with you, it could technically go both ways. Allen, who has never won MVP, versus the two-time MVP Lamar Jackson. I hope Allen wins because I'm hoping for a Lions-Bills Super Bowl, but we'll see what happens at Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Now for my predictions, I have Detroit beating Commanders, Eagles beating the Rams, Chiefs beating the Texans, and the Bills beating the Ravens. Then if that goes as planned, I have the Lions beating the Eagles, which would be an absolute masterclass of a game. Then I have the Bills beating the Chiefs for a Bills-Lions Super Bowl. I have the Lions taking it home.
Alright, enough of this delusion. The CFP is down to its final two teams, but let me catch you up to speed. In the Orange Bowl, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish took on Penn State. It looked like Penn State was going to run away with it up 10-0, especially with QB Riley Leonard going down with a concussion. The backup Steve Angeli was thrown in, and he did his job. Drove the Irish into field goal range for a much-needed field goal. Down 10-3 at half, the Irish woke up, scoring back-to-back touchdowns on gritty rushing scores on the goal line. Up 17-10, Penn State running back Nick Singleton would quickly tie the game. After Leonard threw his second pick, Singleton scored for the third time, completing the hat trick. After a busted coverage play, Leonard found wide receiver Jaden Greathouse for a huge, game-tying touchdown. Tied at 24 apiece, the question was who would make the big mistake. Unfortunately, Penn State fans, it was your quarterback, Drew Aller. He threw a tough ball while getting hit, and it was picked off by Christian Gray. With 12 seconds left, Mitch Jeter split a 41-yarder through the uprights to give Notre Dame the lead. The Irish managed to hold on to a 27-24 win and advance to the national championship in Atlanta. As for the Cotton Bowl, this became clear that whoever won this game most likely is the favorite to win the national championship. Ohio State, Texas. Who would be going to Atlanta? At the start, it very much looked like Ohio State as they scored on their very first drive. After getting a 4-and-out stop, the Texas defense woke up, and points were scored by running back Jaden Blue, 7-7 Longhorn strike back. It didn't last long, however, as the Texas defense turned into a disaster, giving up a 5-yard screen pass for a 75-yard touchdown courtesy of missed tackles. Trevion Henderson took it to the house, 14-7 Buckeyes. Texas would force a pick late in the third and score, courtesy of Blue again, 14-all. Midway through the fourth, the Buckeye offense woke up again as another long drive led to another Judkins touchdown, 21-14. Texas would then drive all the way down to the 1-yard line with just about 2 minutes left. And on second and goal, Texas would make one of the stupidest play calls I've ever seen, running a pitch on the 1-yard line. Like, seriously, all you have to do is run the ball up the gut 4 times. It's second down and goal, for crying out loud. And you wonder what happened next happened. Quinn Ewers was hit, and the ball came out. Ohio State defensive end Jack Sawyer grabbed the loose ball, ran it all the way back for an 83-yard scoop and score. Game over. The Buckeyes go to Atlanta. With all that being said, the stage is set. 2 historic programs would meet in the national championship. Ohio State, Notre Dame. There's only room for one winner, and it will be determined on Monday night on ESPN. That's all the time we have for today's show. I'm JJ Seglet, and we'll see you next week. Go Irish.